They're all backstage recounting stories.
Peter Jackson, Martin Freeman, Sir Ian McKellen, Philippa Boyens, Luke Evans, Ryan Gates, Billy Boy. Welcome, ladies and gents. Make yourself comfortable. We have a lot of questions to get through. I'm going to start off selfishly and rattle down the line if that's okay. Andy, we can start with you if that's all right. You've been involved in both sides of this, of course, this whole journey of being behind the camera and in front of it. What are you going to take away from this experience then, from being able to do both sides of this?
It really is, it's very much, this whole journey for me has been extraordinary, both as working on a new technology. Again, this kind of goes back to where Pete comes from as a filmmaker and his desire to push the envelope and to turn, reach a point in filmmaking where visual effects suddenly becomes character. So the whole performance capture journey has been extraordinary from that point of view. But then also to be asked to direct the second unit was an enormous shock. But it really speaks to Pete's understanding of and the way that he collaborates with all of the cast members and all of the crew as a natural leader and as a brilliant filmmaker. But he's, just in terms of being, without overselling him, because he doesn't need selling really, but he is, his virtues are that he is the most incredibly generous human being, and I think to learn from a director who's an incredibly generous human being, you couldn't ever want a better mentor teacher.
I think I'm going to have to hire you again.
It's a deal.
Lee, you kind of steal the show with your horseback entry in this sort of thing. It kind of adds to his, Elkback, yeah. It kind of adds to his whole kind of presence and grandeur, doesn't it? Is that fun to kind of play with, to kind of even make him even more kind of powerful?
Oh, I mean, on set, that is basically put on this blonde wig, put on this silver armor, and you're going to sit here and, okay, what's next? And he goes, you're going to ride an elk into a battle of 5 armies, and there'll be orcs here, and Peter just going to go for it, swing your sword around, and then show off. Last night, and I watched the movie back, and it's just extraordinary. This, battle is just massive, and somehow I find myself there.
Orlando, how are you, sir? It must have been an emotional journey for you, from being there across the kind of two epics.
Yeah, it is. It's been a crazy to think that I was 21 when I got cast and moved out to New Zealand. I'm 37 now, so it's exciting, perspective. But yeah, it's bittersweet. I hope Pete feels a huge sense of achievement at this point, because I'm feeling a little bit of that, and very grateful to have been on the ride.
Evangeline, what a character. She has no fear. She fears nothing. Would you agree?
I totally disagree. I think that she's terrified of everything and that she overcomes those fears and does it anyway.
She hides it brilliantly.
Oh, great.
You hide it.
That's what elves are supposed to do. They don't show anything on the outside. It's all inside.
Richard, what a journey he goes on in this film. Was that great to be able to take him kind of to those depths?
Yeah, I'm trying to get through this press tour without repeating the word journey or story arc, but really, Thorin has such an interesting story arc to play over 3 movies. And when does one ever get the opportunity to play a single story through 3 pieces? And the material is incredible, Tolkien is incredible, and the screenplay is absolutely fantastic. I was given some amazing dialogue to say, which I'm very, very grateful for.
Good answer, Richard. Peter, sir, you said that you have a responsibility with these films, and these characters, I guess, as well. How do you look on that responsibility now that it's kind of finished and you've delivered these stories?
I don't have the responsibility anymore. I can go to the beach.
As you can tell, he does that a lot.
but I mean, any film is a responsibility, because you're spending money that's not yours, and so you've got to be responsible for that. I also feel very responsible for the fact that you're trying to entertain people, and for me, utter failure is to make a film that people go to and they pay their money to go see it and they don't like. And so, you know, from that point of view, I'm sure there are people that have seen these films that they don't like them, but the majority of people, certainly from what we can see, the majority of people have gone and enjoyed them, which is, for me, that's why we do what we do. Movies. Yeah.
Martin? Hello.
What?
Sorry. I've got to get down the line, speed it up a bit. Not many times an actor gets a chance to revisit a character on more than one occasion.
Yes.
What does that allow you to do then as an actor? Does it kind of allow you more freedom, or is it an easier or harder opportunity as an actor?
Well, it gives you the opportunity to actually grow and expand inside what you're doing. So I love to expand inside Bilbo over a course of 3 years. What? And that's the truth. And I'm only telling the truth, and now I'm being persecuted for it. And I think we know another man that happened to, don't we? No, I'm just saying that within that, yeah, we all have a long time. I was going to be so good on this. We have a long time to play and discover things our characters do. We don't just have 5 minutes. You have a long time to sort of play this, and if it's not your time to, because I was always having the conversation with Peter. When do I get to be angry? You know, like when do I get to sort of show that different side? You would always be saying it's coming. You know, don't worry, pace yourself. Exactly. You have to shape it out, and what you learn is to pace yourself, and you learn to, you learn patience, basically. But that time that we want to play that and you want to show that character, it will come. But you just have to wait. And yes.
Thank you. Sir Ian McKellen.
Very good answer. Thanks very much. No,
Sir Ian, can I? Are you finished, Martin?
Yep.
Sir Ian McKellen, do you think you'll ever say goodbye, farewell to Gandalf? Do you want me to shout?
Oh, well, you see, the thing is, no, I said goodbye to Gandalf in 2000, when I left New Zealand. Well, here we are, 2014, it goes on and on and on. And has been the blessing of my professional life. I'm like all of the actors, we think we're so bloody lucky. There's nothing about luck in the making of the films, of course, that's the planning, the brilliance. But the chance that we were selected, well, wonderful. But I was just impressed last night by the age of the kids who slept out all night to come and wish us well. And some of them weren't born in the last century when we started. Not born. So our work is part of their lives, and you know.
We were always thinking of the full arc of the story, because there's a lot of stuff in The Hobbit that we did, that we planted, which is designed to, you know, for the people that do finally see it in the correct order, it'll make sense.
Can I bring in Philippa? Just the other side of us. Hi, Philippa. Hi. On the foundations we're here in terms of, you kind of with the films that have gone before this, but does that make it easier in terms of kind of knowing where the end point is for you?
Having done the Lord of the Rings first, you mean?
Yeah.
Definitely. I think it was luck that we actually did, those films first, because I think we would have made a very different Hobbit if we'd started with The Hobbit, probably more of a children's tale. And not to say that would have been necessarily a bad thing, but we always knew, as Peter said, that these were going to be set against the backdrop of films that were already in existence. And what I do love now is that we've seen, for example, the relationship of Gandalf and Galadriel, and that she comes to save him. And so when she's told in Fellowship of the Ring that he has died, it's going to play in a completely different way. So that's the experience that I think is going to be special for those people who can see it in that order.
Thank you. Luke.
Hiya.
Or the Bowman.
The lonely Bowman.
Everyone needs a Bowman to save them. Was it fun playing the hero?
Yeah. He wasn't a hero when I first read him on the page. He was just a lowly bargeman. I know what he was capable of and what he ends up doing in the third movie, but when I started playing him, all those years ago. He was a father of 3 without a wife, and you know, he had a long journey ahead of him. But it was very satisfying last night to actually see the final, the look of that rooftop sequence, which was the first thing I ever shot, wasn't it, Pete?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, he put me on wires and set me up the rooftop for 4 days.
There's a lot of scenes in this movie, this Battle of 5 Armies, that were shot 4 years ago, which is very strange.
Yeah. That was 4 years ago. I must have shot that. Yeah, so I waited a long time to see that scene. It's a very big bill, yeah.
Ryan, what a great character that you have in Alfred. He really helps to set the tone, I think, as well throughout the film in terms of.
To lower the tone, did you say?
He does, yeah. Look, yeah. I wasn't going to say that, but in terms of did you really enjoy kind of I guess kind of bringing him to life? Did you get to play with kind of where you took him, I guess, in terms of how that
I
character?
think it was very clear on the page. It was so he jumped off the page to me from the first reading of it. But yeah, we got to play around. I mean, it was a good opportunity for Pete to play with me and bully me a bit and throw eggs at me. So there was great fun to be had with him, because he has a sort of foolish nature. He's a sort of dark, clownish character. So I enjoyed being able to find a little bit of me that's a fool, and a bit of me that is vain.
Quite a lot in there, actually.
And the bit of me that is sort of bitter and greedy and all those things, and exaggerate it and have fun being that person for a while. So it was a great treat to be him.
Thank you. Finally, Billy. Hello, sir. At the end, what a fitting end to this wonderful journey that you with this song, "The Last Goodbye." How did that come about?
I suppose, I don't know, really. I just know that I liked when I got the phone call, when I got the chance to go back to New Zealand and to work with Fran and Philippa so closely on writing the song. And yeah, it sort of organically happened, I suppose, because the song from Return of the King was in the trailer, and then we started talking about doing the song. And it sort of snowballed from there, you know.
But it was apart from the fact that you've got a fantastic voice. It was also we felt just as an emotional thing. It was almost like a handover from the first 3 films to the second set of 3 films.
Yeah.
That Pippin sort of jumps in there to the beginning of his story.
I was just thinking about that when you were talking about watching it in the right order, you know.
Yeah.
But it was great, it was so good to be down there, you know, in a different way. When you're used to being an actor and you leave it, to be there at the sort of last couple of weeks and the excitement of putting it all together, you know, and getting to sit with Pete as he edited it was, you know, a real treat. It was great.
Thank you. Right, gentleman over here, we'll start with you, sir.
Thank you very much. Hello, I'm Marcus from Germany. This is a question for Peter Jackson. Of course, next year we get the Blu-ray and the DVD of Hobbit 3, but what happens after this? Is this really the end of Middle-earth, or do you see something in the books of Tolkien's where you would say this is worth to do another movie? I mean, we are in the century of franchise.
Well, we have the extended cut of the Battle of the 5 Armies, which is going to be a fantastic extended cut. There's some really great stuff. So I go back to New Zealand in the new year. I'll be working for 4 or 5 months putting that together, which will be fun because it's all going to be it's actually some quite good stuff in it. So I'm looking forward to that. Then look, at that point, it's a legal thing. The Tolkien estate owns the writings of Professor Tolkien. The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings were sold by Professor Tolkien in the late 60s, the film rights, but they are the only 2 works of his that have ever been sold as potential films. And so without the cooperation of the Tolkien estate, there can't be any films.
What a pity.
Well,
Jim in the red t-shirt there.
Another question for Mr. Jackson. I was disappointed that I've not yet seen... I'm over here. Hi, hello. Disappointed that I've not yet had a chance to see this in 48 frames, but I'm looking forward to that. How do you feel now about the whole high frame rate? I mean, I don't know if you call it an experiment. And do you think you'll continue working in that format?
Yeah, I mean, I just think that it's a much better way to see films, and after the first Hobbit movie, I went back into the grading room and I figured out a lot of little tricks to make it look less like the video thing. I mean, I know that people criticised it the first time around. I sort of understood why when I did a lot of work. So the second and third Hobbit movies have got a slightly different look, more of a textured look, which I regret I didn't do in the first one, but it took a while to figure it out. But look, the way that I always answered that question, which is a very fair question, is that to say that 100 years ago, movies were black and white, they were silent, they were 16 frames a second, okay? And so 100 years from now, what are they going to be? I mean, I don't know, and we just do not know what form films are going to be in 100 years' time, but I think you can absolutely guarantee they're not going to be 24 frames a second, and they're not going to be 2D. So at what point between now and 100 years do these advances actually happen? So I just think it's, and ultimately, the audiences for movies are beginning to dwindle. There's so much competition for seeing things on iPhones and iPads and everything else that it has become a very serious issue for the industry, because the industry has to have the audiences in order to make these films. It's to sort of feed itself. So it's become a very serious thing for the industry of how do you get people to leave their houses and go to the theatre. I mean, the audiences are slipping away. So I think it's important that filmmakers do look at the technology that's available and just think of how we can use it to make that experience in the cinema a little bit more exciting. So that's my theory.